Okay, let's dive right into an absolute historical thriller from the year 622 CE. In this explainer, we're looking at an event that is deeply etched into Islamic history. It's known as the Night of Sacrifice, or Lailatul Mabit. We're going to explore a night where human bravery and divine protection kind of collided to literally change the course of history forever. It's this fascinating narrative full of absolute loyalty, high-stakes danger, and honestly, some brilliant strategy. I am so excited to unpack these incredible historical records with you.
But before we lay out the timeline of how this all went down, I want you to ask yourself, what would you sacrifice to save a movement? Like, what does it actually take to put your own life on the line when the stakes are absolute survival? We're not just talking about risking your reputation or your job here. We are talking about stepping right into the jaws of certain death just to make sure someone else and the message they carry survives. Keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this.
All right, Section 1, the assassination plot.
So, we begin in the city of Mecca. The polytheist leaders, known as the Quraysh, were feeling deeply threatened by the rise of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. See, the declaration of this new monotheistic order was a massive threat to their very lucrative idol pilgrimage business. And after completely failing to just nip this growing movement in the bud, and watching Muslims already migrating away for safety, they decided, you know what, it's time for a desperate and brutal measure. They actually hatched this ruthless scheme at their Hall of Audience, the Dar an-Nadwa. And the political genius of their plot? They decided to assemble 40 nobles, picking exactly one individual from every single tribe to strike jointly. By involving absolutely everyone, they made sure that the Prophet's clan, Banu Hashim, couldn't possibly seek revenge against all the tribes at once. The whole thing would just have to quiet down with the payment of blood money.
40. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Imagine the sheer scale of the threat represented by that number. 40 armed nobles, the absolute best warriors from their respective tribes, gathering outside a single house on the night of the first of Rabi al-Awwal. They were there with one singular, highly violent goal, and the preparation for killing the Prophet was entirely complete on their end.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Night of Sacrifice.
Right, so as the Quraysh were finalizing this dark scheme, the historical texts show us that a brilliant, divinely guided counterplan was already in motion. Allah informed the Prophet of the plot, and to outsmart them, he needed a decoy. He needed someone he could trust with his very life, so he chose his most trusted aide, his younger cousin, Imam Ali. The Prophet commands Ali to sleep in his bed, wrapped up in the Prophet's own green mantle, while the Prophet himself would secretly immigrate to Medina. Now, when presented with a task that essentially meant sleeping surrounded by enemies under the direct peril of swords, Ali didn't ask about his own safety. He didn't ask, what's going to happen to me when the assassins inevitably break in. His only concern, literally his only question was, "O Messenger of Allah, will your life be saved by my sleeping here?"
The Prophet replied, "Yes." And this detail beautifully illustrates Ali's complete lack of fear. The texts actually note that upon hearing the Prophet would be saved, Ali performed a prostration in thanksgiving. He literally bowed down in pure gratitude for the opportunity to be the ultimate shield, entirely ready to expose himself to the danger.
Picture the cinematic contrast of this exact moment. Outside the house, you've got 40 hostile warriors pacing around, swords drawn, just waiting to attack at dawn. Because as the sources note, Abu Lahab had actually advised them not to attack at night since there were women and children inside. Meanwhile, inside the house, one young man rests peacefully, covered in the Prophet's green mantle, completely calm, just waiting for whatever fate brings him.
Let's move to Section 3, the divinely protected escape.
So, while these assassins kept their eyes glued to the bed all through the night, completely assuming their target was trapped inside, the real escape was already happening. The Prophet miraculously slips out the rear door entirely unnoticed by the 40 guards. This incredibly tense moment initiates the historic migration, or Hijrat, from Mecca to Medina. It's an event so significant, it literally became the starting point of the Islamic lunar calendar. He spent the following days safely hidden in a cave, before eventually reaching Quba, just outside Medina, where he deliberately paused his journey just to wait for Ali.
Moving right along to Section 4, returning the sacred trusts.
Okay, back in Mecca, when dawn finally broke, those 40 assassins lunged into the room, totally ready to strike. You can imagine their absolute shock when Ali rises from the bed instead of the Prophet. But Ali's mission in Mecca wasn't actually over yet. And here is a truly wild historical detail. Even the enemies who wanted to kill the Prophet still trusted him with their most precious valuables. He was widely known as Al-Amin, the trustworthy.
The Prophet had specifically instructed Ali to stay behind and honorably return every single deposited item back to the very pagans who had just tried to assassinate him.
Once every single trust was settled, Ali had to navigate his own dangerous journey out of Mecca. He left 3 days after the Prophet, and he certainly didn't leave alone. He took on the heavy responsibility of safely escorting the women of the family. This included his own mother, Fatima bint Asad, and the Prophet's daughter, Fatima, and he successfully reunited with the Prophet at Quba.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate divine honor.
The socio-political and spiritual magnitude of Lailatul Mabit really rippled through history. Authentic sources, including classical commentaries from both Sunni and Shia traditions, confirm that this specific, powerful verse, chapter 2, verse 207 of the Quran, was revealed to expressly celebrate Imam Ali's breathtaking sacrifice. It describes someone who literally sells his soul, seeking nothing but the pleasure and satisfaction of God, asking for absolutely no worldly reward in return.
This brilliant act had massive socio-political impacts. It proved beyond any doubt his unshakable status. Seminal Shia sources like Kitab al-Irshad and Nahjul Balagha continuously reference this exact kind of selfless loyalty. It showcased that Ali was not just a follower. He was the absolute right-hand man, the one who shielded the Prophet on every critical occasion. It really solidified his standing as the Prophet's spiritual heir and trustee. By picking Ali for this life-or-death mission, the Prophet was sending a very loud, very clear message about exactly who he trusted the most.
So, we started this explainer by asking what you would sacrifice. After seeing Imam Ali's absolute dedication, ask yourself, what does it truly mean to be the ultimate shield for a cause you believe in? What are you willing to endure for the truth? Think about that.
If you like this content, please like, comment and share. Tell us what topic you want to see next. And don't forget to subscribe.